Cause for Hope with Dr. Larry Mitnaul and Pilar Pedraza is brought to you by Kohl's Cares and Ascension Via Christi in partnership with PBS Kansas Public Television.
Take my hand, don't let go. Look in my eyes and in my soul. Hold me close, hold me near. Please let go of all your fear. I'm not going anywhere.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Pilar Pedraza, and with me is my co-host, Dr. Larry Mitnaul, a child and adolescent psychiatrist. Hey, I got it out without having to think about it twice with Ascension Via Christi. We're here to talk about something very serious despite the smiles, family, mental health, and wellness, which we believe is a timely topic, given the growing number of teens and adults struggling with isolation and depression. Too many of us not aware help is available, and all too often friends and family fail to pick up on nonverbal cues that someone they care about needs help, or if they do recognize the signs, may not know what they can do to help. With the help of a grant from Kohl's Cares, Ascension Via Christi, Wichita State University, and other local partners are actively trying to get the community thinking and talking about mental wellness and how we can all take an active role in staying mentally fit and helping those we love do the same. Tonight, we'll be talking about the need to change the conversation on mental health and wellness and what is being done through a collaborative initiative led by Ascension Via Christi and Wichita State University. And this really kind of brings us full circle to where we started 8 months ago.
It really does.
And the Suspenders for Hope program.
It does. And it's really exciting because I think there's an opportunity and the great work of Dr. Provines and others, and hopefully in our conversations together, Pilar, are helping people to get in the frame of mind that, yes, while people may be struggling with, internal thoughts or feeling depressed, talking about it doesn't have to be depressing, that we can actually have a conversation and bring to light that there really is hope for so many people and that most people thrive and kind of conquer through it, but we do that together and by hopefully dispelling the stigma and getting into the light.
And there are a lot of misunderstandings and myths about mental health. When we say mental health, so many people, they immediately think of things like, Sybil and schizophrenia,
right,
or the homeless folks on the street who simply cannot function in normal society. Yeah. But it's a much broader spectrum.
It is, and it's why I like the term wellness, because I think sometimes that's the entry point into people thinking about, wow, there are ways that my emotional life really does play into my day-to-day life. And so we know that more people take off sick days for kind of mental wellness, mental health days than they do for even what we call somatic or physical illnesses. And so our emotional lives are really important. They're the anchor point of our day. And while someone might not meet full criteria for major depressive disorder, feeling down or not feeling okay is okay. It's okay to feel that way and to share and to talk and to find the support that you need.
Yeah. And we know that there has been an increase in struggling to deal with day-to-day life throughout the pandemic.
There has, both in terms of our children and our kids. I think in the early side of things, it actually looked maybe surprisingly, better in terms of the numbers for, kids who are maybe struggling with a little bit more sadness or a little bit more anxiety. But as the time has grown, we've seen that that we are seeing more kids in clinic, and it's not just me, but around the country. I'm kind of seeking care or looking for kind of support and looking for ways to thrive. And again, the good news is there are helps. There are really great supports. There's great therapy, and as our show I think has been highlighting, there are so many ways to tap into fountains of resilience and hope. If that's mentorship or physical activity or nutrition or just kind of collaboration and finding some places to belong.
And what are some clues that maybe it's time to actually get professional help as opposed to just having those conversations with families and friends?
I think when the fingerprints of the sadness or worry are getting in the way of people really being engaged in their life. So, it's one thing to feel maybe a little less motivated to get to work or to get to school, but when kids are missing time from school because they really are finding it hard, and so it's impairing their performance and presence there. Maybe it's impairing their academics, or perhaps some of the things that they really, really love to do, that were bright spots in their life are a little bit dimmed and they're not interested in it. Those are the kids that we definitely need to see so that we can help think about plans to help them to get back to feeling like themselves.
And recognizing maybe some of those cues that something bigger is going on is a big part of the Suspenders for Hope program.
It is.
That we started this series talking about.
Yes.
And that's a program started at Wichita State University, took off there, now moving into K-12 schools, and you sat down with the leader to discuss some of the results of that move.
I did. So I had the great opportunity to sit down with Dr. Jessica Provines, who has been spearheading the program, and then also Cindy Gordon, who's a teacher there at Bishop Carroll. I think she teaches psychology and world history, and they talk about implementing this program and then the stories and the mission and watching people's lives be affected by this really great work. So this would probably be a great time for us to listen in on some of that conversation.
All right.
I am delighted today that we get a chance to really sit with, I think, community legends in the making. So Dr. Provines and Cindy, thanks so much for carving out the time for us to talk. And really, I think, to bookend this really great series with the work that you've both been doing. So thank you so much. So I think maybe we'll just jump right in. So I'll start with you, Dr. Provine. So, the Suspenders for Hope mission really came out of the wellness department, right, at Wichita State University. And what's been beautiful is that it started there as its home, but it has actually kind of grown legs and spread beyond that community. So can you talk about the program a little bit and maybe what the partnerships like, Ascension Via Christi and have meant to helping to kind of broaden the reach and scope?
Absolutely. So I had the pleasure and the privilege of being able to, help develop this program, which was really designed to shift cultures and to encourage people to end the stigma around mental health and to promote mental wellness and to learn about how we can help raise awareness of suicide and give people the tools that they need to intervene.
Right.
So we developed a training, we developed the Suspenders for Hope campaign, and it was really more, it was more than just, the counseling department at Wichita State supporting its students.
I see.
And
Okay.
it was more than the university supporting the students. We wanted it to be a community that supported each other.
Sure. Okay.
And so that was how we got that started at Wichita State, and it really is a passion of mine. It's a heart project because. Like so many people, I have also experienced a loss to suicide, and so we want to make sure that others don't have to go through that. And so when it was so successful at Wichita State, we kept expanding it. We developed a curriculum, we took the training online, and then we decided that we just wanted to reach more people. We wanted to reach more people with this message of hope. And that's when Ascension Via Christi came in. They had received a Coles Care grant to focus on youth mental health and suicide prevention in the Wichita community. And they didn't have a program, but they learned that, Wichita State was taking our Suspenders for Hope program off of campus and into the community, and that's when the great partnership really developed. And Bishop Carroll High School with Cindy here was one of the first high schools to really adopt the program and really just take it through their whole school. So
that's really incredible.
It's been fun to see the way it's just been growing and seeing the shirts out in the community and the symbol of pride. mental health doesn't have to be a shameful thing.
Yes.
You know, if you've overcome a challenge, then we want you to be proud and to share that. So other people know that they're not alone.
And there's power there, right? In those voices of victory. And I think the thing that struck me from the beginning is the orientation towards hope and resilience, right? And not just, the pain and hurtful sides, which is a part of the process, but that there is hope out there for people, and being able to hear that and be able to share that. I imagine that's been really profound, and I'm sure that you're accumulating kind of story after story of people whose lives have been changed, or that they've been just empowered both to recognize what might be going on in the life of a young person and have some tools to walk alongside them.
Yes. If you have survived a suicidal crisis, that is a triumph that should be celebrated.
Yes.
We should be proud to say, I got through this, and I did it, by getting help or, by getting involved and finding a community. And so we should really be celebrating those. We shouldn't be hiding those. And by talking about that and being vulnerable and sharing our own stories, it's what lets us heal. Right. It's what helps others know that they're not alone. And I think it's what encourages people to get help to get through those crises. So we should be celebrating all the people who overcome their depression and anxiety and a suicidal crisis. We should be proud.
Yes, and so it's really beautiful too that your work has had life and breath in your alma mater in Bishop Carroll. And so can you talk about how that happened or kind of came about, and maybe what the connection was there?
It really wasn't a particular design, We had partnered with Ascension, and they wanted to work with the local high schools, and we had approached a few, and, it just so happened that some connections at Ascension Via Christi with the local diocese. The Council of Bishops really got behind this and said, we need to be talking to our youth about this, particularly in the midst of COVID. When everyone was so isolated and lonely, and our world had been turned upside down. So there was really support there. And then a meeting had got set up to meet with Cindy, and people didn't even know that I was an alum from here. So really? To me, it really was just this. To me, it felt affirming. It was a message to me that I'm on the right path, and I need to keep doing this. And I was so proud to come here and see, all of these Bishop Carroll students wearing a shirt I helped design.
That's awesome. So, Cindy, you've been coordinating the program. So can you talk about what that's been like, and then maybe share what the uptake has been like in terms of the people who've done the training, both on the student side and kind of staff side at Bishop Carroll?
Okay. So when Jessica brought it to me last year, we had meetings about it and everything, and it was a time, it just kind of dropped in, like it was almost a calling, because of the pandemic itself, number one. Talking to kids about, their mental health and those kind of things was really important to me, because they have to realize they've experienced a trauma. And so talking to kids about not just mental health, but the suicide part, and making the correlations and realizing how things can go down a path. And then when she brought this to us, implementing something that gives me another tool to talk about mental health was really important. So I just picked it up and we just ran with it, and sent it out to the teachers, and this is what you need to have you do. And luckily we have a house system here. Okay. So you have a home room, so they could talk to their kids, and they could say, okay, can you complete this training and all that kind of stuff? Okay. And then we'll give you a T-shirt, and you guys can wear it with pride. And so then they start the conversation in classroom.
Because it's almost like a small family discussion.
Yes,
like,
yes.
Hey,
so kids they know, so it's not so intimidating. So it's kids that they're with for 4 years. Okay. So they can talk to each other and bounce bounce ideas, and we don't take up the whole class time.
Okay.
It's made just off the cards. It's just like a 5-minute deal, but just enough where they start making it an everyday conversation. Was important to me last year. So we sent it out, and we had a pretty good success. I mean, we have a population of about 1,100, including staff and everything.
Wow.
And I think we could probably clear about 80% of it.
Wow.
We did have people that came back, teachers that reported back and said something like, well, they don't feel comfortable doing it. And I said, well, those are the people we're trying to reach then.
Sure.
Either they have an issue or they need to be one of those people that can say, I'm here for you or something like that. They need to know how to do that. And so that's why it was so heartwarming to implement the program.
Sure.
And then I just recently sent it out to the new teachers, the turnover of teachers, trying to, get them aware. And we have new counselors this year, so making them aware of it was important.
Okay.
So it's been really good to implement and just kind of get them talking.
Yes,
It's just get them talking, because
absolutely.
So many of them are like this,
Right.
the whole time.
That's right.
It's just reminding them that they can talk about things and making it okay to say, I'm not okay.
That's right.
That kind of thing.
Okay,
So,
I love that. You said so many really great things. I liked your frame about, to lean into the discomfort a little bit and to not shy away, because I think often we're only as sick as our secrets, so we keep them kind of tucked down or buried deep, or we can't talk about them, then they do become those taboos that maybe they are too big for me to handle. So I think that was really masterful to kind of offer that back as, actually, let me encourage you to step out of your comfort zone a little bit and to practice it. I really love that. Have you, in terms of just, stories from students or hearing things, what's some of the feedback that you've gotten from the staff over the time that you guys have been implementing this?
We from the staff, probably the biggest thing is, I do have a couple that they were not on board themselves.
Okay.
And just because there's so much on our plate, as a teacher.
Right.
And especially kind of reacclimating the kids to school and all that kind of stuff, into normal schedules and stuff. But some of them are like, I don't know how many emails I got that said, I had a sister that died from suicide, or I had a best friend that committed suicide, or I had one that tried it, but we went through therapy. We're still going through therapy. So how many emails were coming in from them? And then just the discussions in class. I had one of my kids, we're talking about it, and she goes, well, when I went to therapy, we talked about this. So she was open enough because we were starting the conversation. She felt comfortable. And then she shared it with the class. And everybody's like, well, I would never have known you were in therapy. And so, they all were like, oh, okay. And so then it just starts that conversation. And that was good, because then I remind them of certain things. Like we talk about it, like in our psychology, about getting rid of the stigma of mental illness and all of that. And, I told them the other day, with any mental illness, like in 2002, it was diagnosed for autism 1 in 150. 8 years later, it was 1 in 68. And that was all because people were talking.
Yes.
And if we can make that with every mental health issue, and then the suicide rates, could you imagine the numbers if we were all just talking? How they would drastically change. And so that's what, talking with the kids about that, and they all like, oh yeah, I'm totally on board with that. And so, I still have some that still kind of kick the system a little bit, but you always do. But for the most part, we're reaching a great majority of them.
That's so wonderful, because often, again, it's the thought that, well, what does it look like if someone's feeling anxious or struggling with these negative self-critical thoughts? Well, it looks like you and me, and I think having teenagers be okay with kind of sharing those parts of themselves gives them a chance to really be kind of a hero for their peers, and hopefully a model that says, hey, if I'm struggling too, that I too can get better, and that there's hope for me. So, I mean, what a rich experience. It's really amazing that you're really on the front lines, I think, of helping, raise the next generation of really thoughtful, conscientious, and loving, young people into the world. Do you have some things that have developed just through the course of doing this work and sharing this message that might be maybe helpful takeaways for parents or teachers that maybe they don't yet have this this program or haven't been exposed to the material, but something that they could take away and use, or advice that you'd have for them? And maybe I'll start with you, Dr. Provines.
Yeah, I definitely do.
Okay.
I just want people to talk about mental health and be willing to be open and to be vulnerable. I think just doing that, sharing our struggles is so huge. And I want people to check in on each other. Yeah. If you haven't heard from somebody, if they don't seem like themselves, check in on them, and then don't be afraid to get help. Don't wait until it's a crisis. Get help early. There's wonderful treatments out there. There's a lot of help available. So don't be afraid to get help. And then if you have the chance, take a suicide prevention training that helps you feel comfortable asking the difficult questions. Yeah. So that would be my advice.
I love those. Yeah.
I would just say the same thing, because we talk about it in class all the time about it's okay to say, I can ask you 4 times, are you okay? But then I just turn it into, hey, I'm going to get a drink. I'm gonna go get some pop. You want to go with me? Do you want to go get some ice cream with me? Yeah. As long as they know you're there, just keep reminding everybody you're there, and that's kind of the biggest thing. You don't have to know all the right words, because you don't know everything. I don't know everything.
Sure. Right.
So I as long as you just say, hey, I'm here, that's usually the biggest thing. That's the biggest test. Everybody's got to make themselves more vulnerable.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's probably the perfect theme to end our time together. I know there's more that we could talk about, but I think that's wonderful, having the framework of, how are we present to one another and supporting one another, and part of that is checking in, like you say, and making sure that people know that we're there, and asking the question, asking how someone's doing, doesn't put them at increased risk. If anything, it gives them an opportunity and says, I care enough that I want to know what's going on the inside. And
it's okay to talk to me about these things. If you don't ask about suicide, then people don't think they can talk about it.
That's right.
But if you say, well, are you having thoughts of suicide? And they're like, can I talk to you about this? They really feel like, man, now I can finally talk to someone about what I've been feeling.
Yes.
So ask the question.
That's awesome. Thank you, Dr. Provines. All right, we'll head back to the studio. Thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it, and the work that you're doing for our community and for our kids. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mitnaul, and thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
What a fascinating interview. So many stories there.
Yes.
For you, what was the one thing that just really stood out as a teachable moment for you?
I enjoyed hearing about, a young teen being able to, share a little bit about her own journey, and then having her peers in class kind of resonate with that message, and then feel empowered to kind of share their story. And I think that's the power of the stories that we tell, that often we feel, alone in our uniqueness, and somehow that sometimes makes us feel weird or odd or different. And actually, we may share some of those same things with other people around us, and being able to say those things, to speak those things, or being given a forum to do that can really be transformational, I think, in the lives of young people and in the lives of all of us, I think. So just hearing that bravery, I think that's one of the touchstones that for me is just so impressive to hear and encouraging. Yeah.
And as we move forward, it sounds like this program is going great guns at Bishop Carroll, but it's available to schools, I guess any school really that has access to the internet, but definitely here in Kansas.
Yes.
Any advice for schools that are maybe considering a program like this?
Sure. I think it's wonderful to be proactive, and I think that's probably true about nearly every aspect of our life, health and nutrition and wellness in general. But I think being proactive about what are some solutions, because the truth is we know that our kids are struggling, and we know that as adults sometimes we're struggling as well, and so I think if not suspenders for hope, be proactive. My encouragement to them would be to find something that speaks to the young people, something that's easy and simple to do, but that allows for the conversation to be a natural conversation. I think sometimes people are laboring under the worry that, well, if we talk about depression, if we talk about suicide, well, doesn't that increase it? Doesn't that make it worse? And actually the contrary is true. When we say those words out loud, it actually gives some people the permission that they needed to be able to talk about it. So if I say to someone, are you feeling okay? It looks like, or are there burdens on your shoulders that I could, be here or be a listening ear for? It's amazing when you see the look on someone's face, you see their body language change, and they say, "Well, yes, as a matter of fact, this is what's going on for me." And that's what we can do. And I think that's what Suspenders for Hope put into practice. And hearing these stories from Bishop Carroll, that's what it does. It makes it approachable, and it's done in such a way that they start the class, they read a card that kind of talks about mental wellness, that generates conversation, and then we've had our moment. Not everyone will share, not everyone will want to necessarily take part, but it's a community saying together, it's okay for us to have these conversations, and that if you're feeling this way, you're not alone, and we're just going to help you to normalize it and help you to understand that this is a place where you can share those thoughts.
And I'm going to have one last thought here.
Sure.
I really found it interesting, the language that you used. Are you okay? Is everything all right? How are you feeling? Because so often in English, we use how are you to mean simply hi.
Right.
And it's so easy to tell that people really don't care how you answer.
Yes.
So changing that phrase indicates much greter interest.
I really like that insight, and I think you're right. I think being intentional about the language we use and trying to find a way that feels both genuine, that we do have an open door and we do want to hear what's going on in your world, and we all want to be heard. We all want to be heard, and so I think maybe that's a really great kind of feature or highlight or idea to maybe end on is finding ways to check in with one another.
And you're reading my mind. We've been doing this long enough. We are out of time. I have so enjoyed our conversation.
Likewise.
And I hope that you guys have as well. We hope also that we've provided helpful information during this 9-month series focused on family mental health and wellness. If you've missed any episodes, you can still watch them by going to kpts.org. Also, if you've not yet taken advantage of the free Suspenders for Hope suicide awareness and prevention training program, we hope you'll do so. Simply go to the website on your screen for more information. Thank you for watching.
Take my hand, don't let go. Look in my eyes and in my soul. Hold me close, hold me near. Please let go of all your fear. I'm not going anywhere.
This program was made possible by Kohl's Cares Cause Merchandise Program, supporting the health of families nationwide, including local hospital partnerships like this one with Ascension Via Christi. More information at kohls.com/cares.